Today I'm going to be doing a huge revision video all about how to pass your exams, different methods of motivations, different ways to revise, and basically everything you need to know about how to get really good grades for your exams. So if, like me, you're doing your GCSEs this year, then you're going to be doing a lot of revision. So I've got about roughly 15 tips for how to get the best out of your revision time and how to get the best possible grades. So I split it into general categories of things like tips, motivation, and just other apps and things. So I'll leave the times that I start talking about them down below because I have a feeling this is going to be a very long video. So starting with my general tips, my first tip is to start revising early. No matter what time you are watching this video, I would start revising then. Whether it's like 6 months before your exams or just a month, give yourself as much time as you possibly can, because that means you can spread out your workload more easily and you're going to have less to do on a daily basis. So I would recommend starting at least maybe 3 months before your exams personally, because that way you're not going to have to cram loads of information in a few days before your exams and you're going to be really well prepared. My second tip is to have everything that you need in order to revise in one area. So whether it's your desk or downstairs in the dining room, just have one set area where you do your revision so that you have everything in that space, so that whenever you go to revise you have everything you need and you're not wandering around looking for the stuff that you need to revise. My third tip is to have a clean workspace, because personally I always feel a lot more motivated when I have a clean area, and it just helps also keep your mind clean as well, and it helps just personally to revise to your best ability. My fourth tip is to make the most of revision guides. Personally, revision guides have been a lifesaver for me, and I have 3 different kinds I'm going to show you for different kind of subjects. So for science, depending what exam board you use, we do AQA, so this is just a Lonsdale essential revision guide, and I have one of these for each science because I do triple science. So I have biology, chemistry and physics, but they do these for double science as well, and these are just really handy because they have all of the information really concisely on a page, and they also have exam questions in there to help you practice your exam technique. Next up are the CGP revision guides, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about these because these are one of the most popular kinds of revision guides, and I have these for lessons like business studies and RS, where you have a lot of information that you need to learn, and these are super helpful as well because again you have all different topics each on a page, and it's laid out really clearly, and you have everything that you need to know for your exam all in one book. So if you don't take the best notes in class, you have a revision guide to help you. Finally, for maths, depending what exam board you go with, if you're doing Edexcel, I would recommend the Edexcel GCSE Mathematics Revision Workbook and the guide. These go together really well because in the revision guide there are set pages, and then in the workbook they are the same page, so that while you read through a topic in the guide, you can also do some practice questions. And what I really like about these is that I find the way it's laid out on the page is really easy to understand, and if I don't understand something in class, you can always go back in your own time to look back at it, because personally I find maths quite hard, so it's really useful for me to have revision guides to help me. Moving on to how to stay focused and to be motivated, my first tip would be to use the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it basically means that you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, and it's really important that you take regular breaks because it helps give your brain time to rest, because your brain is not going to absorb the information as easily if you're doing full hour, several hours of revision all at once, because your brain is better when you take small bits of information in small chunks along different periods of time, because that makes it easier for your brain to understand it and to remember it. So I would recommend working for 25 minutes, then having a 5-minute break, repeating this about 3 times and then having a longer break, because personally this really helps me to stay motivated by having that 5 minutes just to go on my phone and talk to people. So that is another tip I'd say. When you are revising, try and turn off your phone and avoid social medias, because you will become distracted, I promise. So if you have to use your laptop to do your revision, then I'd recommend installing a software where you can block certain sites for a set amount of time, because that's going to help stop you from going onto social media when you're meant to be revising, and overall it's just going to really help your revision. My next tip would be, if you have large chunks of text to remember, use colour. Personally, I'm a visual learner, so I find colour really helps me to understand information and process it. So if you separate different categories with different colours, or colour code your work, or just highlight in general, this is really going to help you remember the key points that you need to know in order to pass your exams. My next tip would be to have a realistic timetable. So it's always helpful to have a timetable so that you know what you are doing on a set day. So I would recommend the website Get Revising, because this helps you to make a timetable and you can put in all your other commitments, whether you have like dancing or work, and then it will help you prioritise which subjects are most important so that you can make sure that you're getting all your revision done. And it's also realistic, because I find if you have an unrealistic timetable of lots to do, you're more likely to just not do any of it, so it's better to just do small bits at a time. My next tip would be have a specific goal for each study session. Whether it's just to understand one topic or how to do one thing, having a goal for the end of each session will help you stay motivated, because you will want to keep working until you have reached that goal. So setting small goals for yourself is just really helpful, and I would also suggest having rewards for yourself. So once you reach a goal, maybe allow yourself to go on your phone or just have some chocolate. My next tip would be to have some snacks prepared before you start revising, because personally I find when I'm revising I get really hungry, so it's always really helpful to have your snacks there when you want them. And I would also suggest trying to have quite healthy snacks. Like, it's always okay to have a bit of chocolate now and then, but if you can kind of keep to healthy foods when you're revising, then you're also just gonna feel more happy because you're eating healthier, and it's also going to give you more brain power by eating good foods. My next tip would be to listen to a relaxing playlist while you work, because personally I don't like working in silence, but if you're listening to like your favourite pop songs, you're probably going to end up singing along and getting distracted. So I would recommend the Intense Studying playlist on Spotify, as this is just really relaxing music and it also helps you stay concentrated while you work. And I would also suggest, you know, using different genres of music for different subjects. So maybe you want to listen to classical music while you do maths, and concentration music when you're doing science, because when you listen to each kind of music, it's going to remind you and get you in the right zone to do that kind of work. Moving on to revision techniques, there are many different ways depending on what kind of learner you are. So you need to find out whether you are a visual, audio or kinetic learner. So I am personally a visual learner, so colour and space helps me a lot. So the method that works for me is doing things like flashcards and mind maps, and I think mind maps are really good at getting lots of information into one space easily, and it's going to help you process that information more easily because it's more spread out. Or alternatively, you can use flashcards, because that way you can do a question and answer on each side. Or if you're doing like vocab and stuff, you can put, like, if you're doing German, you can put the German word on one side and then the English on the other, and this is just a really easy way to help you learn specific words and definitions. Also, using past papers is one of the most helpful ways to revise, because say you're doing biology, if you do a lot of biology past papers before your exam, then it's quite likely that you're going to have already done the question what's going to come up in your exam, even if it's worded a little bit differently. So doing past papers is going to help you be prepared for when you get in the exam, and you're also just going to improve your exam technique as well. I would also suggest that if you'd like to do your revision on the computer, writing it up by hand afterwards also really helps you, because when you're writing it, your brain is actually processing what you are writing down, therefore meaning that you're going to remember the information more easily. So just writing up your notes is a really easy way of getting the information into your head. Moving on to like apps and videos and things that I find really helpful for your revision, I'm going to start off with apps. So the first app I would suggest is called Gojimo, and I'm pretty sure this works for like all around the world, but specifically in the UK they have ones for GCSEs and A-levels, and it's really useful because they have different categories. So whether you're doing AQA biology or all the different exam boards are on there as well, and they already have specific quizzes and information on there, so it's a really useful revision technique and resource. The second app/website I would recommend is called Quizlet, and this is really useful for making flashcards online, because I find that if you have like lots of flashcards on paper, you're going to get quite a bulky bag at the end of it. So I would recommend using Quizlet to create your flashcards, because firstly you're going to save a lot of paper, and you're also going to be able to take your flashcards with you anywhere. So say if you work like on an iPad, you can also take this with you when you're going out. So if you're stuck on a train journey, you can always just look at your vocab, and this is going to help you revise while you're. As I mentioned before, the website Get Revising is also really good for creating your study timetables and other things like that. And I'm also going to be leaving all of the websites and apps that I mentioned linked down below, so if you don't remember what I said, it will all be down below in the description for you. And my final website I would recommend is the Student Room, and this is basically just a giant forum for everyone doing like exams. So I know this works really well in the UK, I'm not sure about in other countries, but there are a lot of forums about GCSEs and A-levels and different exams. So if you have questions, it's really good to go on there and ask someone else who is more experienced in that topic, because they will be able to help you. And my final suggestion, if you want to watch videos to revise, this is a really helpful way because you have someone guiding you through how to do something. The main channel I would suggest, especially if you're doing science, is MyGcseScience, because although you can only get B1, C1 and P1 for free and you have to pay for the rest, the videos are really helpful at being able to understand the information, because he goes through it really clearly and it's just a really easy way to understand something if you were struggling with it in class. So those are all of my tips. I hope this was helpful for you who are doing exams soon. Even if you're not doing your GCSEs, hopefully this helps you in some way, whether you're doing mocks or just general exams. And if you are doing your GCSEs this year like me, good luck. I hope you do really well. And yeah, that is everything I have to say. I'm sorry if this was a really long video, but hopefully it was helpful, and I will see you next week with another video.